Oh, hello! Today we are doing my first haul of 2022, and this includes all of the kind of holiday goodies. So I was smart this year. I was proud of myself for expressing this kind of restraint because I hoarded all of my gift cards and all of the credits that I had for bookstores, primarily Amazon. That's how it goes, but I saved them all so that once people started doing their end of the year lists, instead of feeling totally guilty for buying so much of what people are recommending, I had like specific funds set aside for it. So you will see that. I also had a lot of pre-orders that came in. I bought some books that I've already read. So one thing I'm going to start doing in my hauls is talking about my month-over-month TBR net change. So one thing that I do is I track every month how many books are going in and out of my collection and how that impacts my TBR of unread books. So often, even though I may have gotten, I don't know, even like 20 or 30 books, which I think is the case this month, on a net basis have not increased my overall TBR, meaning that maybe I bought 20 books, but those 20 books could be ones that I've already read, or I could read other books that are already on my TBR, so those books may have left. If I start the month with 10 apples and I buy 10 apples, I don't necessarily end the month with 20 total apples, because if I've eaten any of those, then it goes down. So if I ate 20 apples, I would actually end the month with no apples. So my goal is to try to keep my net change in TBR under 10 total books, increasing what I haven't yet read. So that is the goal, and this month I did pretty well with that, but in this video I want to start telling you guys what the net change was. Hopefully that made sense. It made sense in my head, so let's just dive into it. Let's start with books that I bought from end of the year lists that I used specific holiday money to get. I noticed that a lot of these were thrillers. I don't know why, that just was what was sounding good. So first we have In My Dreams I Hold a Knife by Ashley Winstead. This is a thriller about reunited friends after a killer incident in their college, so they're reuniting 10 years later. And I saw this on a lot of people's end of the year lists. This is a debut author, so that always makes me excited to show love to a debut author when the book is getting good buzz. So I picked this up. I picked up Whites on Race and Other Falsehoods by Otega Uwajaba. This is an essay that the author released in light of the murder of George Floyd. And yeah, I just saw a lot of people calling this out as something that they thought was really powerful, moving. It's short also, and I always love being able to recommend short nonfiction to people because I know some people find nonfiction kind of intimidating. So I picked this up because I thought, A, I am excited to hear that it's good, but B, also if I like it, always happy to have another kind of shorter nonfiction rec in my repertoire. Then I have I Was Their American Dream by Makala Gareb. And this is I think it's either YA or middle grade if I'm remembering rightly, but it's a graphic novel memoir about, I believe, like an immigration experience, but I just was seeing good buzz for this. And I really enjoy, similar to what I was saying about the previous one, I enjoy short nonfiction that's a little more accessible as a rec for people who are interested in dipping their toes in, but might be a little bit intimidated. So picked this up. This one I blame 100% on Jess Owens because she just loves it so much. I got Sweet Hand by N.G. Peltier, and this is a contemporary romance around like baking stuff, and I think it's enemies to lovers. It starts as like kind of a hate bang situation and evolves into something more. So yeah, I mean, we'll see how I do with this, but she absolutely loved this and kept hyping it up, and when I was seeing her wrap up, I was like, okay, fine, Jess, I'll get this. I'll give this a try. So I grabbed that. Oh, and then this one I think I got because it was on the horror Goodreads Awards nominees, and I saw Kayla from Books and Lala reading it for her horror wrap-up, and it just intrigued me. It's basically, I think, a horror novel around a wedding that is taking place at a plantation. It's making literal a metaphor about the horrors of slavery, so I was just intrigued by that as a premise. And I've been more into, there's been more horror type plot summaries recently that have been intriguing me, so I don't know. Maybe this will end up being a year where I get into more horror, but this one stood out to me and tickled my fancy. Then this murder novella, like murder mystery novella, is like a historical murder mystery about the assassination of Mary Queen of Scots' private secretary. I don't know, I just was intrigued by what I heard about this, and I don't know that I've read something quite like it, so I thought, especially since it's a novella, easy to pick up and slot in somewhere, so I grabbed that. Then we have Never Saw Me Coming by by Vera Kurlon. And this is about a college student who is, you know, she kind of seems like a typical co-ed by day, but by night she's plotting to murder somebody who wronged her in the past, who also goes to this college. I don't know. I've been into sort of the academic mystery or thriller setting recently. It's been appealing to me. I think also there's just been more of those coming out. So I don't know. This one tickled my fancy, so I grabbed it. And then last in this pile is what I think is an isolated closed circle mystery called The Retreat by Elizabeth de Mariafi. And let's see, I think this is some sort of like wellness retreat, maybe. A retired performer and mother of two, she worries time is running out for her to find her feet again after the collapse of her disaster and violent marriage. Isolated in the snowy beauty of the retreat, Maeve can forget the ghost of her past for a day, and then an avalanche strikes and murderousness ensues. Sold. Okay, and then maybe let's go to a PR box that I got, which I thought was super cool. This hadn't been on my radar, but very intrigued. So it's for Shattered Midnight by Danielle Clayton. And so this is the book that's coming out, Shattered Midnight. The first book in the series is Broken Wish by Julia C. Dow. So it is a series from Disney. So I'm thinking that this is like maybe some IP that they got YA authors to write for. And the idea is that it's an intergenerational story. So each book follows a different generation in this family and this curse they're trying to break. So we've got the first two books that are out. This is the one that they sent me the box for, but I just thought that was a cool idea. Often when they kind of solicit authors to do this kind of stuff, it means that they're thinking about adapting it. So they, you know, want them to write it so that they can then turn it into a TV show or a movie or whatever. And I think it's a cool idea for both a book series and then also potentially an adaptation. So I don't know that that's happening. That's just my guess. But anyway, so they sent me this really cool box, and the first book took place in Germany in 1865. This book takes place in New Orleans in the 1920s. So the box was New Orleans themed. The standout thing that they sent me was a beignet mix from Café du Monde, which if you've never been to New Orleans is like the place to get a beignet. It's open 24 hours a day, I think, if I'm remembering rightly. Anyway, it's like a big tourist destination / allegedly the best beignet in New Orleans. But anyway, they sent me mix from there, which I thought was such a cool idea and a fun tie-in to the fact that it's in New Orleans from the 20s. They sent me like some flapper beads and this cute little mirror that says Shattered Midnight. I'm wondering if this like ties into the plot of the story. But anyway, I thought that was cool. That wasn't on my radar, but I appreciate Disney Books for sending this my way. Beignets for Mara. Okay, and I guess on that same note, I also got an ARC for The Wedding Crasher by Mia Sosa. This is coming out from Avon, I believe. Yeah, Avon in April. So I appreciate them sending this my way. This is the second book in the series that she started in 2020, which was started with The Worst Best Man. And this, so I'm just down to read this pretty much because I really enjoyed the first one, but also there's a little bit of a fake dating element here. He needs a date to this wedding, and she is trying to get to the wedding because she's trying to stop the wedding from happening. So shenanigans ensue from there. Really enjoyed the writing and character work in the first one, so I'm excited to get to this. I also picked up, well, maybe we'll do my new releases that I've not yet read pile. Or sequels that I've gotten that I've not yet read. So, In the Ballroom of the Candlestick by Diana Peterfront. I somehow missed that this was coming out last fall, so I didn't get it when it first came out. But I really enjoyed the first two books in this series, which is a YA mystery series based on the Clue board game. And I thought that the first two were really fun and kind of underhyped, so I'm excited to see what the conclusion to the trilogy is. Speaking of the third book in a series, I also pre-ordered Akata Woman by Nnedi Okorafor. This is the third book, the Akata Witch series, and I just love her imagination. I love the way that the world building in this one works. And the first one was sort of middle grade, the second one was more YA, and my guess is that this will be sort of new adult. So that's a cool idea in terms of sort of aging with the audience in theory, or at least aging with the character as the series goes along. So at some point I will get to this one, and I'm not sure, my guess is that this is the finale. Like, I'm guessing this is the final in a trilogy, but if nothing else, it's the third book. So yeah, we'll see. I picked up a Most Unusual Duke by Susanna Allen because I'm considering picking this for the Blades and Bodice Ripper book club. My pick is in July, and this is a historical romance with weres. So our main dude is a werebear. She is a widow who was like brutalized by her previous noble husband. And so they're in sort of like a marriage of convenience thing because she's not supposed to know that there are wares, but she does. Does she either has to marry one or they have to kill her? I don't know. I'm basically reading this ahead of time to make sure it's not torturous for Leanna. I'm also considering picking Morning Glory Milking Farm, which she wasn't thrilled about, but I think she secretly might be kind of interested in seeing what that is about. I think she'll hate it, but it'll be an interesting reading experiment. I'm wanting to definitely pick some kind of romance for my pick in the summer, just because I don't think that's what Bethany will pick for hers. And so, you know, just want to make sure we get a little romance in there. So whatever I pick, I don't know that she'll love, but I want to make sure it's not just like abject torture. So I think this sounds fun and we'll see how I do with it. Then the other pre-order that I have not yet read is Daughter of the Moon Goddess by Sue Lynn Tan. This is a duology and it's an adult duology. I don't think that this is YA. And it's basically based on a folktale of the Chinese moon goddess, like a retelling of that. So pretty much all I needed to hear, in addition to how gorgeous this book is. I'm into the vibe of this. I really like retellings, especially fantasy type retellings. So yeah, I'm pretty optimistic that this will be one I enjoy when I make time to get to it. Okay, and then everything else I have already read. Either I was getting a physical copy or I got a copy before I'm talking to you guys. So I did pick up a physical copy of The Fire Next Time by James Baldwin. This was my number 3 best book of the year last year. And when I was going to link it in one of those videos, I realized that there was a hardback copy available, which I thought that there was not. So since there was one, I went ahead and picked this up. This is 2 essays, one of which is in the form of a letter to his nephew. It is about sort of the history and philosophy of the civil rights movement from James Baldwin's vantage point, and I find the letter to his nephew particularly moving. So, grabbed a hardback copy of this. Then I have 2 pre-orders that I hadn't read when I bought them that I have read since they came in. So first of all, we have Monroe by Kresley Cole. And this is a long-awaited next entry in her Immortals After Dark series. I think it's been 5 years since we've had one. So I'm mostly just super excited for people who are ride or die for this series that it's finally continuing, because it didn't really leave in a very satisfactory place. And I would have been really bummed for people if that was the last we had heard from the series. I think and hope that this means that there's momentum to finish off at least the main series and sort of the main storyline, because I know people really want that. If it's not even the main storyline, it's more that there are a few couples that people have really been waiting for. So I was excited to see that there seems to be momentum to do that based on what is in this book. I don't think that this is the best in the series, but I do think that this is a good entry, and Monroe, the titular hero, is way more chill than a lot of the Kresley Cole heroes tend to be. So frankly, based on his brother's book, which was in McReeve, I was a little nervous that this was going to be too much for me, but I actually really liked him. He wasn't as awful hard to root for as some of the heroes in this series have been. I will say the fault I had with this was that I felt like all the side characters were more interesting than our main couple. But anyway, I gave this 3.5 stars. I thought that this was good, and yeah, I'm just excited that the series is getting going again, if nothing else for the Fated Maid podcast to cover them. I had much less success with To Paradise by Hanya Yanagihara. I have a whole vlog talking about my experience of reading this. I'm gonna be honest with you guys, the further away I get from this, the less I like it. So I originally gave it 3, and I would probably give it 2.5 now. I was pretty disappointed with this. Also, in the comments of this video, a lot of people were raising some issues that I wasn't aware of with this author, and particularly her depiction of gay men over the course of her sort of oeuvre, which I was not aware of. So anyway, if you're interested in that, I would recommend you look that up before you start reading this. But also, I just think, like, even leaving any of that aside, I just didn't think that this was a very entertaining, interesting, or original book. And so it felt pretty bland. And considering it's 700 pages, not great. So anyway, I did read this though, and I'm hauling it now, and you will see it in an unhaul the next time I do one of those. So yeah, yeah, at least I got it in and out of my collection pretty quickly. And then I guess one book that I bought and read since we last talked, and that was Beyond the Gender Binary by Alok Vade Menon. And this is a little nonfiction book aimed at teens about being gender non-binary. And I thought this was super helpful, a very accessible little like reference book for nonfiction, and would definitely recommend. And then all of these remaining ones are ones that I read and wanted a physical copy of. So, I say that. Two of these were from Book of the Month Club that they sent me, and these are the two that I kept, and I'd already read them. One was The Maid by Nita Prose, which I really enjoyed. This made my best mystery thrillers of 2021 list because I read an arc in 2021. Would definitely recommend this if you like kind of a voicey mystery and a mystery thriller that falls much more on the mystery end than thriller. Also very character driven. So really enjoyed that. And I've seen people enjoying it as well. This one has a little bit more mixed responses from people, including myself. This is Reckless Girls by Rachel Hawkins. I will say that I do feel like this delivers on the isolated close circle mystery thriller element, which you guys know I really love. So for that reason, I'm kind of a sucker for it. But anyway, these both were from Book of the Month Club, which was very nice of them to send me the whole stack, but these are the two I'm keeping. The traditionally published editions of Ice Planet Barbarians continue to come out, and the second one is Barbarian Alien. This is with Liz and Rahosh, and I really love the cover designs on these traditionally published ones, though I'm also a sucker for the more campy self-pubbed covers. All of them are great. And as long as they're releasing these, I will keep buying them. I picked up a physical copy of Razorblade Tears by S.A. Cosby because this was one of my favorite books I read in December. This is definitely gonna make best of the year lists for me for 2022 because my years go from December to November every year. So this will make this coming year's best of list. Really love this as a revenge conspiracy thriller. Very difficult subject matter, so definitely look up some content warnings here. It's called Razorblade Tears, and it made me weep, so I feel like that's pretty apt as well. And finally, Anti-Diet by Christy Harrison. I have a whole commentary video talking about some of the things that I have been processing around the topics of this book, so I will mostly point you in that direction, but I did enjoy this and wanted to have a physical copy to reference some of the information in it for that video and for future ones. So did definitely enjoy this one as well. Oh, okay, and then last but not least, two collection picks. So I've been a little behind in these, but HarperCollins UK issues these beautiful cloth-bound editions of various Agatha Christie stories. In the last couple of years, they've been doing sort of bind-ups more than actual novels, but they have The Adventure of the Christmas Pudding as well as other short stories from her around Christmas. It's called The Adventure of the Christmas Pudding and a Selection of Entrees, which I thought that was very cute. Okay, I guess they're not technically all around Christmas, but it's just a collection of some of her short stories, and the main one being The Adventure of the Christmas Pudding. So I thought that was lovely. I really enjoy the cover design on these, including Midwinter Murder, and these are also short stories. It says Fireside Mysteries from the Queen of Crime, so sort of wintry, I guess, inspired edition, but I think that this is absolutely beautiful. I love the sort of design sensibilities of this line. So I picked up those. Okay, and so those are all the books that I got in January, and for January, I moved 20 books out of my TBR pile, and I added 22 books into my TBR pile for a net increase of 2 books to my to-be-read physical pile. Not bad, actually. So for all you just saw, know that I was reading and moving out of my TBR pile 20 other books, so that sort of offset it. So there you go. And with that being said, definitely let me know how you fared in January in terms of getting any new books. Did you like me have some Christmas or holiday money that you were using? Any big new releases you were excited about? Let me know that in the comments below. And yeah, I think that will do it for this video. So if you enjoyed it, please like, subscribe, follow me on the social medias if you are so inclined. I have all that information listed in the description box below, and I think that will do it. I hope you're having an absolutely lovely day today, and I will just talk to you soon. Bye!